chief military spokesperson repeated Israel's call for people in Gaza to move south, stating forces would strike Gaza City, quote-unquote, soon. He accused Hamas of trying to use civilians as human shields. Israel has ordered nearly half of Gaza's population to evacuate their homes ahead of an expected ground offensive. Here are all the details.
ממשיכים לדרבן את תושבי העיר עזה, רדו דרומה, סעו דרומה מעבר לנחל עזה, חמאס רוצה אתכם כמגן אנושי, זה למען ביטחונכם האישי, אנחנו הולכים לתקוף רחב מאוד בעיר עזה בזמן הקרוב. חמאס רוצה את האוכלוסייה כמגן אנושי, חמאס רוצה נפגעים עזתים להראות לעולם שיש לו הרוגים ופצועים. אנחנו ממשיכים לדרבן את תושבי העיר עזה, רדו דרומה, סעו דרומה מעבר לנחל עזה, חמאס רוצה אתכם כמגן אנושי, זה למען ביטחונכם האישי, אנחנו הולכים לתקוף רחב מאוד בעיר עזה בזמן הקרוב.
And while US President Joe Biden stressed on US support for Israel as well as the need for humanitarian aid for Palestinian civilians in calls on Saturday with the leaders of Israel and Palestinian Authority. In his first call with Palestinian Authority, President Mahmoud Abbas, since Hamas's attack on Israel a week ago, Biden offered Abbas his full support for urgently needed humanitarian assistance to Palestinian people, especially in Gaza. Biden also discussed US coordination with the UN and regional countries on humanitarian aid for civilians. Listen in.
Humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Innocent Palestinian families, and the vast majority have nothing to do with Hamas. They're being used as human shields. Yesterday I spoke for over an hour with a family member of those Americans who are still unaccounted for on a Zoom call. They've endured an agony of not knowing what's happened. Not the same thing, but I can tell you what it's like. It's one thing to lose someone you know you're going to lose and be there with them and hold their hands, like I was able to do with my son. It's a very other thing to get a phone call, like I got years ago, saying, there's been an accident. Your wife and daughter are dead. I'm not sure. Your boys are going to make it. The uncertainty of those 2 or 3 hours trying to get back to find out. It's the worst feeling in the world. It's gut-wrenching. And it's yet another reminder that hate never goes away.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
As the Israelis' 24-hour ultimatum nears end, Israeli Defense Forces spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan noted that there has been a significant movement of Palestinian civilians towards the south.
Its surroundings to move north, to move south, and evacuate themselves to this place here, the Gaza River, in order to be safer and in order to not be in an area where we are going to enhance our military operations. We use the words significant military operations. We do this, we advertised our intentions in advance, not because it has any military logic, it doesn't, because we want civilians not to be affected by the war.
EU's foreign policy chief said that Israeli military needs to give more time for 1 million people to evacuate northern Gaza ahead of any military action.
That asking 1 million people moving to the south in 24 hours is just impossible. You cannot move such a volume of people in a short period of time, especially if there is no shelters, neither transportation means. And from this point of view, We consider that this warning is good to know, but they have to give more time in order to make it possible and not to create a dire humanitarian situation.
Following the Israeli military's order to evacuate all citizens from Gaza City, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged Israel to reconsider its warning, calling it dangerous and deeply troubling. An Indonesian rabbi at the only synagogue in the world's most populous Muslim majority nation called on for peace and an end to the fighting between Israel and Hamas. Members of Arab group at the UN, including the Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, called on the Security Council to do more to help Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Canadian officials prepare to evacuate Canadian citizens from the Gaza Strip this weekend as Palestinians began a mass exodus on Friday from northern Gaza. US President Joe Biden assured family members of Americans stuck in Israel attacks that they will do everything possible to help return them back to their families. World Health Organization plane carrying medical supplies to support urgent health needs in Gaza has landed in Egypt. Medical supplies will be delivered to Gaza to meet critical health needs as soon as humanitarian access through the Rafah is established. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that efforts to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza have been complicated as terrorist group Hamas continue to use civilians as human shields and in reportedly blocking roads to prevent Palestinians from relocating to southern Gaza. Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman al-Safadi warned that Israel Hamas was causing a humanitarian catastrophe and represents collective punishment of more than 2 million Palestinians. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with Israeli soldiers stationed in southern Israel ahead of an expected ground offensive against the Hamas. Netanyahu also surveyed the aftermath and damage from the attacks on Kibbutz Be'eri and Kfar Aza, which were part of the bloody incursion by Gaza Strip's ruling terrorists, which ignited the latest conflict. Ahead of the expected ground offensive, Netanyahu, who met with Israeli soldiers as he surveyed the damage from Hamas attacks, and this ahead of the huge preparation that is underway as Israel goes all out.